In danger of squandering a 3-1 lead with their backs to the wall in the
depths of hell,
the Warriors, the good guys, continued their streak of domination in Houston. Things seemed rough early as Steph struggled to find easy shots, but even when he struggles, Curry and Steve Kerr always press the right buttons to enable others to find their rhythm. And we just put out a great video on Buddy's game that you can also watch. But it wasn't just Steph's gravity. Draymond Green and the Warriors' defense also had their best game yet as they virtually strangled the Houston offense in the half court. In Game 7, the Warriors came out to play. Let's review. So as we've covered multiple times before, the Warriors always know how to utilize Steph doubles. Watch here as Draymond actually flips the angle of this screen twice on Amen Thompson, which will allow Steph to run off this screen. And of course, what happens, both Alperen Şengün and Amen Thompson are going to go with Steph, which means that Draymond can just cut into wide open space as Steph makes an easy delivery over the top, and then Draymond gets the nice and easy finish. Steph was getting a lot of passes like that last night, even though he wasn't scoring early on. Here again, Steven Adams and Tari Eason are both covering Steph as he dribbles baseline. Now, Deesh also covered this in his video, but here I want to look at it from the perspective of Steph as he has 1, 2, 3 defenders on him. So Steph is getting virtually triple teamed. And that's just another way to show the gravity of Steph. So now Buddy Hield, who's just in this back corner wide open, Steph makes it insane behind the back pass, and then Buddy's just going to splash that as he's getting in rhythm. Now, once again, what's happening? Steph has Fred VanVleet, Steven Adams running with him. He has Tari Eason, who's also concerned about Steph. So again, another triple team-like scenario where now Moses Moody is just wide open on the wing. Of course, the Rockets were willing to let Moody shoot that as he actually ends up missing this. But it's worth noting how open Steph is getting his teammates, as again here, Steph off the catch gets Jalen Green shifting that way, which means that now he can attack into this zone that the Rockets were running in the middle of the second. As soon as he does that, he's able to get a step from Alperen Şengün, so now he's got the attention of 2. Because of that, he's able to make this really nice skip pass all the way to Podziemski in this corner. Of course, this now forces a rotation from Fred VanVleet, and Tari Eason initially stunts this way. And now he has to make this super hard closeout to, once again, a wide open Moses Moody, who hopefully against the T-Wolves is going to hit some of those threes. But really nice to see Steph being able to generate that even when he's not shooting particularly well. Here, simple double team at the top from Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams. Of course, now it's time for the Warriors to run Draymond Green in the short roll. Draymond Green's a dangerous short roll passer. And let's count the numbers. It's, of course, a 4-on-3 on the backside as Jimmy, Pods, Buddy are all on this backside. And now it's up to Jalen Green, Şengün, and Dillon Brooks to defend them. Of course, I think they're in some sort of zone alignment right here, which means that now Draymond can just make an easy kick out as he's managed to get inside fairly easily. And Buddy's just taking a practice shot in the fourth quarter, which was super nice. Of course, in this final possession, I just wanted to show you how the Warriors also used Steph as an inverted screener, as here he's going to set this back screen for Draymond on Steven Adams. This allows Draymond to run downhill. And now we have Jimmy Butler, who's standing here in this release valve type action that we've covered many times before. Although usually it might be Steph running a ball screen and then giving it to a Draymond or Jimmy at the wing who can then pass to a roller. But here it's Steph as the inverted screener. Watch as 2 stay with Steph, which lets Draymond run wide open into space. Draymond Green also had maybe his best game on defense. Let's start by looking at what happened in rotation. There's some sort of screening action going on here between Şengün and Jalen Green. He's going to end up being able to get a step inside with Pods behind him. Of course, Steven Adams has been rolling downhill this entire time, so you would think that this bounce-off pass is going to be easy and lead to a wide open dunk or layup. But of course, it's Draymond who, as soon as that bounce pass is made, is just going to instantly turn his body and then get a hand in there and swipe that away from Steven Adams. So an excellent rotation to save the Warriors. Now here we have a dribble handoff between Şengün and Jalen Green with Pods and Jimmy Butler. Now they're initially going to switch this action as Şengün is just going to end up keeping it. So then we have Jimmy Butler on Şengün. He gets a nice inside step, but then let's watch what happens with Draymond Green, as he's the help in this case, and he's able to rotate just in time and then meet Şengün at the top with that rotation to then prevent the easy bucket. A super tough rotation, but also timely. Now I want to pause earlier in this play and talk about why Draymond Green is able to make this rotation. Now, obviously, he just made a really good rotation. We've covered in videos in this series about how Draymond is always making these timely rotations, especially as the help on these ball screens or these dribble handoffs as they're rolling downhill. But also, it's worth noting that the Warriors are not always that concerned about Tari Eason or even Fred VanVleet out on the perimeter as scoring options. The Rockets are fairly one-dimensional in that they'll usually rely on these end-of-possession runs from Şengün or Jalen Green, which doesn't always lead to great offense. Now, finally, in terms of blocks and rotations, here the Rockets are running another ball screen, handoff, get action, whatever, between Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün. Starts with this screen. Draymond Green is going to play this and drop. Şengün sets a really good screen, so Jimmy can't get around it. But of course, Draymond is well-versed in playing drop against Jalen Green and is also not really scared of his scoring ability because Jalen Green usually has one singular mode, that being attack, which usually results in reckless shots and easy stops like that one. Next, I wanted to talk a bit about the big man battles and how Draymond Green has been super versatile in all of the different ways the Rockets have been trying to play Şengün and Adams. Here we have this high screening action between Fred VanVleet and Şengün, as Şengün is going to flip this angle to get this good back screen on Buddy Hield. Now, the way the Warriors are playing this, it looks like Draymond is going to be either at the level in some sort of hedge, or they're going to try this temporary double on Fred VanVleet. And of course, as soon as they do that, as soon as he gets basically two dribbles and Buddy Hield can ensure that he's not using that initial screen, it's up to Draymond to then recover, which is what makes this look like some sort of hedge and recover. But as soon as he does that, watch how Draymond Green is able to get back in time to contain Alperen Şengün and then ultimately make his life very difficult as he can't get an easy shot with his right hand, which we've covered before, as he likes to go to that. Now, you just watched Draymond Green play a super good pick and roll coverage situation with Buddy Hield, making sure that he could recover in time to stop Şengün. Now, we're going to watch how Draymond Green plays effectively in zone as the Warriors are in this zone alignment right here. And I want you to first pay attention to how Draymond Green is moving as Jimmy has Şengün in ISO. So watch here. Draymond actually manages to 2-9 on Steven Adams. If you don't know what that means, it means that he basically has 3 seconds in the paint to guard, quote unquote, guard an opponent, or else he's going to get a 3-second violation. So you either have to tag them or you have to step outside of the paint. He manages to not only touch Steven Adams right here so he doesn't get the defensive 3 seconds, but then move all the way back and predict that pass from Şengün. So let's watch that again, noticing what happens. So first, there's the 2-9. There's him touching Steven Adams to make sure he doesn't get the 3 second, and then the instant rotation to pick off that pass from Amen Thompson. Super versatile, super smart, and I think what it shows you is that Draymond is a jack of all trades in all senses, but especially in terms of his defensive versatility. He can play any coverage you want. He can play anywhere on the court you want. He can play against any type of offensive player that you want. and find success against all of them. Now, here, the Rockets only have 5 seconds left on the shot clock early in the fourth, and they're going to resort to a Şengün ISO. Now, part of the reason the Rockets have had a pretty paltry half-court offense is because they end a lot of them like this, with an isolation, as Draymond has his hand up because he knows that Şengün is going to try for this step-back fadeaway with his right hand, as he usually tends to do with not much time left in the shot clock, and just make it super difficult. When that's your offense, it's super hard to execute on time. And Draymond Green, throughout this game, in addition to Kevon Looney, we should also give Kevon Looney some credit for playing a few really good minutes, had really good success against Şengün, against Steven Adams, against containing Jalen Green inside. Draymond Green displayed virtually every single defensive tactic in his book this game, succeeded at a super high level, and was the crucial factor that made sure when the Warriors' offense was more stale early on, that the Rockets didn't build up any sort of large lead. Now finally, let's go over the fourth quarter stretch that sealed the game. So initially we have a Şengün Fred VanVleet ball screen action. Again, the Warriors are trying to deny Fred VanVleet the ability to use Şengün's ball screen. Of course, by him flipping that, it actually makes it a lot more effective. And here we have Draymond, who's stepping up almost to the level and then wants to recover to Şengün after this screen. And of course, Fred VanVleet tries this maybe ill-advised throw-ahead pass to Şengün, who he maybe thought was going to run further ahead. But this is a really good pickoff from Buddy Hield at the top of that pass, which Jimmy Butler then further tips back. Then there's this pretty questionable, maybe frustration foul from Fred VanVleet in transition. This namesake clear path foul for us that ultimately gives the Warriors a lot of extra momentum and shows a bit of frustration going on. Now let's look at the next possession where we have a inverted ball screen from Steph onto Jimmy. Worth noting, the Rockets were switching for most of this quarter, which means that Jimmy's now going to get the Jalen Green assignment. And of course, it's just a quick 1-2 turnaround fadeaway into Jalen Green, who's had a rough go at it defending Jimmy Butler and Steph in some of these ISO possessions. Now here, we've talked about how Şengün has a loose outside hand, outside dribble this time. You can see as soon as he makes that catch off this baseline out of bounds, look at Steph's head. He's looking up and he knows pretty much instantly that he's going to go for that swipe, as Şengün doesn't have a good hand on it, and then boom, Warriors ball. Now the next possession I want to cover is how Steph ends up getting this switch. You can see that Steph gets a screen from Draymond. It's kind of a hard angle to see. He originally had Amen Thompson. He much prefers Jalen Green, although Jalen Green also did a really good job in some of these on-ball possessions against Steph, but of course, much better for Steph. And then I just want to watch yet again. We've covered multiple times in the past few videos how Jalen Green has repeatedly been dusted by Steph for two main reasons. The first being that he's too willing to shift all of his weight on his back foot. As soon as he makes that plant with his back leg, Steph is already winning. Steph is already in his shooting motion. But it's also worth noting that Jalen Green's hands were initially down for far too long. And because of that, you have a hand down, you have your foot back, you're not going to make it to Steph in time. And Steph's just going to drain that in Jalen Green's face yet again. And then finally, let's cover the night-night play where we're in this transition opportunity here. Now think about it, we're late in the game. Buddy Hield has had, I believe, 8 threes up to this point. And let's look at how the Rockets defense is set. We have both Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet, who are still way more concerned with Steph, doubling him late in the fourth and leaving Buddy Hield, who's been on an absolute scorcher this game, wide open. And of course, it's just far too late. And Buddy just drains it for the night-night, as Mike Dunleavy Jr. looks totally unhappy. The Houston Rockets played an incredible series. For a team with such young talent and a clear problem in their half-court shot creation, their tenacity and complex defensive looks, and we'll link a great video breaking down their too big zone by B-Ball Breakdown, gave the Warriors a lot of trouble. But at the end of the day, hustle defenders and heart can only get you so far. To win in the playoffs, you need viable levers to pull when your opponents take away your primary options. And the Warriors, on the back of Steve Kerr's excellent scheme and coaching, Draymond Green's generational defense, and Stephen Curry's planetary gravity, and shout out to Game 7 Buddy, of course, were simply far too smart for the Rockets. Next up, Minnesota. Stay tuned for our Timberwolves series preview dropping tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you agree.